I'm Casey Viera. It is so interesting how one little injury and one bad night in Phoenix can change the narrative around a whole basketball team right now.
I'm Jeff Garcia, host of Locked On Spurs, and I bet you are probably biting your fingernails regarding the vote for Prop A and Prop B.
I'm Devin Brown. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Guys, let's have a great show.
This is Locked On Spurs Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Spurs talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Spurs Squad Show starts now.
Indeed, it does, and a very pivotal night in San Antonio Spurs basketball history. More on that in a minute because we have to, well, I guess remind you just who we are. Third time we've done this thing, the Spurs Squad Show here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate all the love you guys have been giving us. You guys are the ones that drive this, are the reason we're doing things like postcasts and squad shows and have made this season tremendously fun so far. My name's Casey. To my, screen right, Jeff Garcia, host of Locked On Spurs, the title pod of this channel, and of course, NBA champion Devin Brown. Today's program brought to you by Gametime. Of course, download the Gametime app, create an account, use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. What are we going to be talking about? Well, going to be talking about a couple big injuries, Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. We know that. We'll talk about the time frame of that. How Victor Wembanyama was slowed down in that Suns game and why the focus turns to a big couple games on deck for your silver and black. And finally, the big story, of course, around the Alamo City is the fact that there is a vote on a stadium that's happening tonight. We're going to deflect. We're going to turn that to the back end of the program because the vote is still being counted, still being, counted in progress. And we want to get the most accurate, up-to-date results. Not that we're a politics show guy or guys or anything like that, but, we want to have it most relative to the conversation, I guess you could say. So welcome, gentlemen. I'll let you get a word in, then we'll get the fun started.
Yeah, a round of applause for Devin Brown finally getting a mic on the episode. I mean, good. Congratulations, Devin. Congratulations.
Yes,
finally
thank you.
did it.
Yeah. Finally, yeah. Took a little bit, but I'm good, yeah.
Sounds good.
Right. I sound better.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. Yeah, I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
Y'all sound good in my book. All right, let's get right to it. Despite the vibes that have been so good for the Spurs team, of course, 5-0 heading out west to Phoenix, all of it ending, one, not only because of a loss, but two, Dylan Harper exiting the game with an Achilles strain. Let me correct myself. A calf strain that we were feared was an Achilles situation. Multiple weeks is the diagnosis, but as we all know, the calf, the Achilles, it's a very tender subject matter. No pun intended, no wit intended, anything like that. And a lot of focus turns to, well, his recovery and where do the Spurs go from here? Because Mr. Devin Brown, that's kind of been the conversation of fixing and trying to get the backcourt meshing and things like that, and where Dylan Harper fixing, in addition to the fact that Harper is off to a great start as well. From your experience as a rookie, someone who has been such a vital part of a rotation. It's not like he's a rookie and this is essentially a gap year. He's a vital part of this team already. How much does something like this derail a player?
Well, he's off to a great start, and emotionally, it can mess with him. But the NBA's they got a long season, it's a marathon. There's no use, him going down with something worse and missing, the rest of the season. So the Spurs are very good at what they do when it comes to injuries. They will get him right, and that young man will be able to, dazzle us with his play here in a little bit. Just let him get a little healthy.
Jeff,
this is where you have to reflect on the Spurs, Brian Wright, and look at the roster and be like, yeah, talk about riches. Okay, look, sucks to see Harper go down. Hopefully the kid will bounce back ASAP and come back 100%. But my goodness, you have Fox likely on deck soon, very soon. I know more on him later. But you have Steph Castle, and you have Jordan McLaughlin, who I think has not been getting enough shine of late for just holding the fort down. We're not asking him to be, Castle or Fox, he's just doing very good, steady veteran play. So kudos to him. But my thing is, if Fox is not back soon, and I'm anticipating that he'll be back soon, considering Harper's injury, but who becomes another primary or at least a secondary guard in this will, or somebody can take up the ball. So we know Vassell can do that. I don't know if you want to give Sohan some PTSD, and tell him, hey, Sohan, you want to run it one more time? Likely not, but when he gets back. But nevertheless, I think this is just a point of just focus here, that the Spurs have some depth when it comes to the guard spot. And kudos to Brian Wright. But no, as far as Harper's concerned, he was playing such great ball. He got those early jitters out of the system to start game one. And you fast forward to just recent games. Devin, what was the game where he pretty much saved the Spurs from losing to? Oh, it was Brooklyn. Spurs, that fourth period. So he was just eye-opening plays, eye-opening steadiness on that court. Sucks to see him go down, but look, this is the NBA. Injuries do happen. Casey, I think you put it out on X. I think you summed it up perfectly. You said, "Thank goodness it wasn't the worst case scenario."
Right, and I think that was kind of like the knee-jerk reaction, kind of for a lot of people, because sadly we've become so trained to the idea and the optics of a star going down to an Achilles injury. It's a very dramatic, very unfortunate sight, and none of that surrounded Harper going down, which I think immediately, you hate the circumstances that you acknowledge it as such, but that's kind of just kind of what it was. Devin, I want to go back to you, and I want to revisit the De'Aaron Fox side of things, because this time last week we were talking about incorporating him back in to the equation, into the fold. That was under the assumption that Dylan Harper was healthy. Obviously not the case. So that point guard spot, even more so in flux. Do you look at this from a player standpoint, and knowing that you're on the mend, but you're getting that close to a return? How is De'Aaron Fox kind of handling that mentally, knowing that, hey, this is going to be on me? We knew that already, but now maybe that ease back into the system thing, it might not, that luxury, that comfort might not be anymore. How does a player, I guess, navigate that?
All right. So, different injuries, different situations with that hamstring and the way that he plays. He's going to have to be careful, and he's going to have to be able to trust it. All right. And then at the same time, it's really on the player. I mean, the Spurs can, do what they can to protect you, but he's going to have to be able to trust his body playing his basketball game. You can't, play different or anything like that. So, him getting back speeds the Spurs up. They're going to be faster. They're going to be better. And he is an all-star, multi-all-star. So, but he's just going to have to be able to trust himself. And sometimes it takes a little bit, longer than you expect. And it's not that easy just saying here, oh, I'll just go out there and play. Not when you're dealing with this type of injury.
Jeff, what you got?
It just another kind of ripple effect of this, seeing Harper go down and then Fox officially still delayed. He ain't going to come back for the Lakers. Is you start wondering, what will this team look like at 100%? They started off the season hot, 5-0 before the big loss in Phoenix. But nevertheless, this team looks like it can be a problem for the rest of the league once they're at 100%. I cannot wait for that to happen, Casey. I think once everybody's back on the court, back on the roster, the IR is clean. Watch out, rest of the NBA. Now there'll probably be some missteps along the way. Some still, they still got to work on the chemistry. You got to get their game legs back for Fox and then Harper again. But nevertheless, Casey and Devin, if we just extrapolate what the Spurs did in the first 5 games, add in a healthy Fox and add in a healthy Harper, my goodness, this team could be a problem for the rest of the NBA.
I'm worried. I'll be the first to tell you I'm worried right now, because I felt like a lot of this season was going to be riding on how they meshed that backcourt between Fox, between Harper, between Steph Castle. And we're going to be, in all likelihood, because I'm not banking on seeing Dylan Harper anytime soon. Multiple weeks the ambiguity of that statement that they say. We know the Spurs are cautious as it is. They wait 100 and beyond 110%.
Yeah, right.
They're cautious as it is. So I'm not banking on Dylan Harper being back anytime soon. So for me, if I'm looking at this as a Spurs fan, or really not even a Spurs fan, just because I'm just looking at it from any lens, it's frustrating to hear, all these things all season long, all off season. We're going to mesh, we're going to have the 3-point guard backcourt. That's going to work. We're going to play Castle at the 3 and Harper and Fox. They'll figure out their own thing. Devin, I'm not even sure we're going to see that this year at any point. Given the injury history of Fox, that's been the case right now, or circumstance, given Harper's unpredictability, I'm not even sure we're going to even see that, at least in the immediacy.
Well, I mean, it's one of the lineups that they talked about, but, you got some, I don't know if I talked to Jeff about this, but did we talk about Keldon maybe playing the 1 at times?
No. Yeah, I think you mentioned it for tomorrow's show. Yeah, about Keldon taking the ball up.
Well, there's a lot of versatility there with the Spurs. But, to answer your question, yeah, the Spurs are very cautious with their injuries, but Will Seventeen and his staff does a great job. So we're just going to have to trust them on this. And, I know as Spurs fans, we'll get a little impatient, but Dylan Harper himself, believe me, he's got a long time to play in this league. Mm-hmm. Please listen to what they're telling you. That's all the advice that I have.
A couple of things here, too. Let's not forget, Steph Castle does have some experience of being thrown into the fire when the Spurs were depleted at the guard spot. Fox last year, they threw in Castle and just shined bright. I think the same thing is going to happen again this moment in time in the Spurs season because of the injury to Harper now. But, Casey, I do disagree with you a little bit. I think we will see Harper and Fox and that trio that everybody's talking about hit the court this season. I think it's too soon to say that Harper, we don't know yet, if he's going to be injury prone or be susceptible to just, getting injured. I think it's way too soon to that. But I do think we will see that trio hit the court at some point this season.
Yeah, I'm just a pessimist. That's just what it comes down to. I'm a pessimist.
I mean, he's just a teenager, man. I remember when I was a teenager, I would bounce back quick.
Yeah,
from injuries.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting labels on anyone. I'm just saying what it is right now. I'm saying that Dylan Harper is dealing with a calf situation that, generally speaking, is as they said, a multiple week thing, if not months. That has become the norm. That's what it's been. And then De'Aaron Fox, the hamstring thing. So this is me going off what the evidence is in front of me that I have 2 of these 3 guys that are already hurt, and I'm supposed to be assured that it's going to work out the rest of the way.
Here's what I'm going to do
right now. I hope I'm going to do. I'm pessimistic. Yeah, what you got?
I got my cell phone right here. Right, so I'm going to text friend of Locked On Spurs, Dr. Ryan McCorkle, and hopefully he texts within the amount of time here to give him his quick and dirty thoughts on a calf injury. And he's pretty good about being real, whether, it's going to be weeks, months, or no, he'll bounce back quick. So give me a few seconds. But
all right. Well, we got to hit a break. We got to hit a break here in a minute, too, on the topic of guys who are injured and coming back real quick. Jeremy Sohan, he is expected, or I should say, he is questionable to return. Calf situation and a wrist situation, ironically enough. Luke Cornett is out in addition to De'Aaron Fox. Kelly Olynyk is questionable as well for the Laker game that's coming up on Wednesday night. We'll hit on that and a little bit more on the other side of the break. We're going to go back, rewind to that Phoenix game, because what we saw was very humanizing was Victor Wembanyama looking human. So on the other side of the break, we will figure out how exactly the Suns did it, and whether or not that could be a blueprint for other teams. That and a little bit more coming up on the Spurs Squad Show here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you a little more about Gametime. All right, so if you're anything like me, you love basketball. You obviously know that. You're not watching this show, or any show on the Locked On podcast NBA side of things if you don't already know that, because nothing beats being in the arena. Let's be real. Getting tickets, though, it's hit or miss. it's frustrating because sometimes you got the fees, the queues, and the prices that jump before checkout, and it's frustrating. I get frustrated doing it, so I know you do too. That's where Gametime comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. They call it, and I call it, the ultimate life hack to get tickets fast, easy, and above all else, stress-free. One that I used for a game that's actually coming up out of town. No, not the Laker game, but a game that's coming up out of town. I had never used Gametime before. Then I got here. I started reading this advertisement. I'm like, you know what? I need an easier way to do it. They take out the guesswork. None of that stuff, the funny stuff with Gametime. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. Code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. And as they like to say, swipe, tap, ticket, and go. As we get ready to go here on the other side of the break and talking about what the Suns did to, well, at least prompt a conversation about Victor Wembanyama. And a conversation that we wonder, hey, is there something to it? As we bring back Jeff and Devin. Jeff, of course, host of Day-to-Day Pod, title pod, Locked On Spurs, NBA champion, Devin Brown. All right, gentlemen, something we have not seen this year. And if we're being completely honest, we've only seen 5 times, period, because there's only been 5 times Victor Wembanyama has been held. I want to make sure I get my hand in the frame. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That Victor Wembanyama has been held in single digits. The other day was exactly that. 4 of 14 from the field, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 6 turnovers. Devin, you and I, immediately after the post game that day,
Right.
we were taken back by the fact that Victor's lack of assertiveness, it's something that we haven't seen to that degree in, honestly, 2 years. There was just a passiveness that wasn't there. And right. I was watching us back in the conversation, and you made a great comment about Victor playing on his heels. I need you to expand off that a little bit more of that now that we have more time. But I need you to expand off that idea, because I thought the way you described that, it speaks a lot.
Okay, so they're posting him most of the time that mid post area, and right away on the catch, Phoenix is doubling him, and it was a hard double. There's a difference between doubling somebody and what they were doing to him. They were really closing up Victor's passing lanes. So the passes he was throwing, I think he thought he was throwing to one of his France teammates that was also 7'5". Because some of these almost went 3 rows into the stands. So all I was saying was what Victor needs to do is when he throws it out, preferably to that first guy, whoever that is behind the 3-point line, and it could be any of them, right away they need to throw it back to him. He needs to get a little bit deeper on that second catch as far as the post up, and he needs to attack right away. I mean right away. And sometimes at 7'5", you're going to have to go over the top of people, which we've seen him do. But some of the passes, Casey, Jeff, that I saw him were making out of the deep corner, over his head, and all the way across the court. That's not going to work. And I'm pretty sure he broke down some film with one of the assistant coaches, and they'll be able to get ready for LA. But and you know what? Superstars have those nights. Now let's see how he answers back against LA.
Jeff, what you got?
Yeah. Again, I saw that coming even in the Miami game. You go back and look at that Miami win. They were doing kind of what Phoenix was doing, but just Phoenix did it better. Interesting, though, every time I noticed they got Wemby in that trap situation where one guy's kind of getting real physical with him, really pushing him out. The moment the ball was in the air going towards him in the post, you saw another player from the Suns just go and swarm him, attack him, to the point where they just literally in one play grabbed the ball out of his hands and they took off in transition. I don't know if that's the playbook on Wemby and how to slow him down, but it definitely was effective. You saw it in Miami, and then you definitely see it work in Phoenix. You look at tomorrow night's game versus the Lakers. Will they do that again? Yeah, they probably will. Devin, you mentioned to me for tomorrow's show that all NBA teams look at each other and what they do, and I'm pretty sure the Lakers are going to try to do the same thing. DeAndre Ayton will probably get them the assignment on Wemby, so we'll see how maybe reacts to that. But yeah, I mean, 2 points for Wemby at half. 2 points. That's all he had at half for the Suns. Career low for him. I think it's just an anomaly. I am not worried about Victor whatsoever. He'll bounce back with that. I was told by a Spurs staffer during a recent game at home, they said that Victor is just, whenever he does something good or bad, if it's good, he wants to get even better. So he does whatever, a 360 dunk, then, okay, I want to do a 365 dunk. He has that type of mentality. When this is bad, he goes, okay, I want to erase that. I want to get better. So I would not be surprised to see Victor come out tomorrow night just having an incredible bounce back game.
Especially on prime time, too. I mean, for me,
and in Los Angeles, too.
Well, that's that's exactly it. For me, I think we're all consensus that he's a sicko. I mean, knowing him, this is going to prompt a 50 piece tomorrow night in LA or something like that. I don't think that's the conversation. I think what drives me back it drives me back to that rookie year, and sometimes last year. It's just that passiveness, and there's just an element of it, and maybe it's because the Spurs are a little thin. Maybe it's because Victor just, he does things his way. And if he felt like that was the best plan of attack, who am I to suggest that Victor Wembanyama does something right or something wrong on the floor? But what I do know was that there was a level of passiveness, Devin, that you and I watching that game the other day, it goes back to sometimes just the baseline of what it is with Wemby, and what drives people nuts was you have the smaller guy, just take advantage of him. Don't get cute. Don't worry about everybody else's feelings. Don't worry about, Harrison Barnes not getting his look in the corner. You got a 6'4" Grayson Allen that switched 1 through 5 on you. Don't get cute, right? Just go get after him. None of this other stuff. Just do your thing, right?
Yes, but in handling superstars, and it seemed like you were going to say it. I'll go ahead and say it, it seemed like you were going to say it. Sometimes you got to watch the gloves you put on when you're dealing with superstars. And if Victor gets discouraged when he kicks it out and these guys aren't knocking that shot down, and there's a voice telling him to be more aggressive and attack, and it's just not one of those nights, it can hurt us. It seems like it'll hurt his feelings. So, I think, because I just don't understand. It can't be fatigue. They're only 6 games into it, right? Think about the first few games that he's had. And it's a mentality, and we talked about this, you're going to Phoenix and it's such a trap game. And I'm sure they talked about this in shoot around and the hotel and everything. You have to be ready for Phoenix. You look at their roster, you may not know some of these guys, but you have to respect them. And I just don't think the Spurs had that level of respect for Phoenix. So, and then, like I said, he kicked the ball out a couple times. Guys weren't making shots. And then I don't know what happened after that. It was a bad game. Just bad all around performance.
Can I bring up something real fast though? Sure, we're putting the onus on Victor, and look, he's the guy that can be out there and get the job done. But what about Mitch? Shouldn't Mitch be under the spotlight heading into tomorrow night's game versus the Lakers? Shouldn't he start devising some adjustments for Wemby, getting on the page with them? I know, Devin, you mentioned about the assistant coaches working with him, but ultimately the buck stops at Mitch, and and that's what I'm interested in too. Say what you want about the player matchups, X's and O's. I'm actually seeing what Mitch is going to do. His first, I guess, real test as a head coach for the Spurs to see, okay, Miami and Phoenix did something to our star player. Here's what I'm going to do to counter.
Casey, I'll let you go in just a second.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the tests, for Mitch to, when you're taking over for such a, a coach that was always about adjustments. Any counter you had for him, he had for you. And that's what Pop lived on. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do this. Is there going to be more of an action to get Wemby the basketball? Are you going to start setting people in certain spots, how Pop liked to do, with us? That first shooter is very important, very, very important. That's why you saw Manu there a lot. When Tim kicks that ball out, that guy has got to be able to create for somebody else, because we're not going to sit here and let them think that they can double our superstar. So you're absolutely right. We'll see what Mitch does in this next game.
The point I was going to bring up, and I bring it up now because I think it's a cleaner pivot into what we have coming up after the ad break. And it's easy for, again, myself, Jeff, to say that we've never had any NBA experience like this. It's easy for us to look at what the Spurs did the other day in Phoenix and say that they overlooked their opponent. They played down to them. I don't want to say didn't take it seriously, because that's way too strong to suggest that a team wouldn't take it seriously. But Devin, you called it a classic trap game. Do you think that there was an element of them riding a little too high, and no pun intended, they just got burned?
All right. So here's how I'm going to answer that. It just depends on when they left from the airport, being that before they were 5-0. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we've all experienced it. Now we have all experienced this. I don't know. It just depends on what was at that airport when they left. Was it 100 people? Was it 10,000 people? I'm telling you, San Antonio fans are great, because it does not matter. They are going to be at the airport waiting on you. So I just think that there were some people there, and yes, we left with the wrong attitude. But like I said, out of this, you can get this road trip, back to 500 if you get a win against LA, and especially with the start that the Lakers are off to. So,
Devin, one of my favorite memories of you was actually our first memory together, because the first time we met was summer of 23. I had you and Antonio Daniels. You were in studio for the Victor Wembanyama draft special when I was at Ken's 5. And I put something out there on Twitter saying that the two of you guys would be there. Mm-hmm. And for the sake of the conversation, the show probably started at like 6:00. There were two things I took from it. One, I apparently people care what I say on Twitter, because there was like 24 people that were outside the Ken's parking lot. Mm-hmm. That was one. And two, I'm like, all right, Spurs are back. San Antonio is back. And I don't know if you interacted with any of those fine folks on the way out.
I took a few pictures. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you did them right. You protected the brand. Jeff and I, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
they just carry on with their day. All right, we're going to carry on with our day in just a minute. We're going to talk about the Spurs day coming up tomorrow, their night, a primetime matchup in Los Angeles against the Lakers, albeit a little bit of a different looking Lakers team, but as long as Luka Doncic is in the building, it's going to especially it's on prime time on ESPN as well. Going to hit on that and check in on the Project Marvel vote. Expand on that a little bit more. Got that coming up for you on the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. But before we get to all that, let's talk about FanDuel. And yes, with even if you miss, as we know, there's no better place to get in the action this time of year than, I guess, to be honest, put it bluntly, FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel, they have these live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you combine your live bets into same-day parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps the game exciting every time, especially when your team's making a late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Pretty simple enough. So what do? You head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game. And as always, we do it with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. All right. And that means our chance to continue the dialogue about the National Basketball Association and a primetime matchup and maybe the biggest NBA game of Victor Wembanyama's career. Probably not professional career, but NBA career. Bring back Jeff, bring back Devin Brown, host of Locked On Spurs, Jeff Garcia in the middle. Devin Brown, of course, a guy needs no introduction because you were taking pictures out there with him over at the Ken's 5 studios. On Sunday, we were talking about, we lost Devin. He's heading back
fine.
to the Ken's 5 studios.
I think he covered up his camera there.
All right, we'll get back to it. So Victor Wembanyama is going into a game, Jeff, where all lights are on him. And there's a level of accountability that is there on the Spurs that hasn't been there, if we're being honest, because the team's just been, again, to put it bluntly, irrelevant for a little while now.
Sure.
Until this year. Until all the good things that they've been doing this year, the winning that they've been doing this year, the narrative has flipped. And there's a conversation that remains to be had. And putting them in the spotlight is a perfect place to have that conversation. So when I say all those things about the Spurs being relevant, about the Spurs in the national spotlight, what comes to mind? What comes to mind when I say that, knowing that there's a level of accountability that was not there and now it's back and it's shining bright tomorrow?
I think, one, it tells me the rebuild's over. It's done. This is a team that no team can look at on the calendar and be like, oh, we got the silver and black Spurs. Yeah, we got a W. No, that's gone. That's gone. And I'm also liking the fact that the players are aware of it too. After the game versus Phoenix, Steph Castle brought it up and made it very loud and clear that they are now understanding / seeing that this Spurs squad has now a target on them. Now, yes, he did credit that target mainly due to Victor and him being a prime player and all teams want to go up against him, but they're still getting up for the Spurs nevertheless. So I think, it should be a good thing that Spurs fans see that. It should be a great thing that the Spurs fans are understanding that the team is out of the rebuild. And 3, they're getting some respect from the opposition. They can't come into the Frostbank Center or on the road and just curb stomp them anymore. They're going to have to bring their best. And it's been showing. Look at Phoenix. Go back and watch Locked On Suns after the Suns win over the Spurs. Casey, I could have swore they won the title the way the host was acting. Go back, but that should just give you a little idea of just how much it means to teams to beat the Victor Wembanyama-led Spurs and company. And you throw in a De'Aaron Fox soon. You throw in a healthy team squad soon. Once they all come back, I think that sentiment is just going to get larger and larger as this team gets more experience, grows, understands, gets some winning streaks going together. Yeah, I think they're in a great spot right now.
What I love about this game coming when it does, because we were talking about how lousy they were in that Suns game, they need something to get up for. They need something to further, to put it bluntly, to be. You
think they need that already? They shouldn't need that. They don't need motivation.
Well, let me finish.
Okay. All right.
I think they're a group of young dudes who are going out there and are playing with that regardless to begin with. But how many times have we seen this spot that they've been in and they just go out and they get blasted again by somebody else?
Yeah.
By a team that, whether it be a good team, bad team, the ensuing game after they have a letdown, when they're riding high, like in a situation like this, where they have won on multi-game win streak, they have one loss, and then it just kind of spirals. Yeah. Like they need a level of something to play for. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I think this is what they're going to be playing for. And I think, again, Steph Castle mentioned it.
Okay.
How they can rebound from a loss. He said, he actually said, I wish I had the graphic here. I would have sent it to you, but I have the quote here. In a nutshell, he's just saying, I want to see how this team responds to the Lakers, meaning tomorrow night in LA. So I think that's what they're playing for. Can they, as a team, regroup, not get mentally rattled, not get shook, and just come out and erase the last game out of their mind and just move forward. I think that's something they could be playing for. Also, too, again, just that level of respect, especially for guys like Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Those two guys, they haven't even sniffed the postseason. This is the closest they're probably going to get to it if all the pieces come together. Injury bug stays away as best as it can, and Victor is just Victor throughout the rest of the season. So they're playing for that, a chance to finally in their career. They are the two of the longest tenured Spurs. They are number 1 and number 2. For them, just personal level, just to help this team get to the postseason after the 82-game slate. So, yeah, I see what you're getting at, Casey, but for me, I'm just seeing it in this aspect. You have all the motivation in the world, this young Spurs squad. Get in the postseason. You haven't been in there. That's enough for you to get out there. And, start the post-Popovich era on a good note with a good coach, Mitch Johnson. I said, there's plenty of motivation.
I would hope. I would certainly hope so, because this is a very unfamiliar territory that they've been in, that guys like Keldon Johnson have been in, that a level of just incentive that hasn't been there. And in my mind, I viewed this, and I said on one of the postcasts last week, after the Suns game, prior to the Suns game, before the West Coast road trip, that if they went into LA a perfect 6-0, it would have been the biggest game of Victor Wembanyama's NBA career. Because I don't want to say he's played in Olympics, so I say NBA career, not professional career. But I like that though, because there have been very few times, and this goes beyond the Wemby side of things, just collectively the Spurs as a whole. I love the fact, again, that there's just this accountability that needs to be there, though. And they're going to be putting it on themselves. Again, like you said, they don't need you and I to say these things to get up for a game. I would hope, at least. They're not watching us and saying, oh, Casey said that, I'm going to go show him. That's not going to be the case. But there is something there in this Laker game, in this primetime game, that I think they really need to capitalize on.
And I'm going to circle back to the 5-game winning streak. Yes, I know it doesn't matter how you get W's as long as you get W's. But even in those wins, there was still something to motivate this team. It was, we can't be blowing a double-figure lead to the Brooklyn Nets. We shouldn't have had to beat the Pelicans in overtime. We should not have seen a 20-something lead evaporate against the Raptors. So there is, they were winning. That was good. But there were still some motivational pieces there, to play a complete game. So far this season, the third quarter has been their trip up, their pitfall. And that's something to play for too. Have they gotten wins? Yes. But Casey, I'm going to ask you this. Have they really played 48 minutes of basketball in a game? They haven't.
No, they haven't. And that was why the latter two of that 5-game win streak, my overriding sentiment was like, it's good to see them get the win. But if we're honest, for half of those last 2 games, they were not a very good basketball team.
They weren't.
Blowing 20-point leads to teams like Brooklyn, teams like Toronto, that's not a good basketball team. That doesn't.
And then getting pulverized by 30 against Phoenix. 30 points.
In fairness, though, I mean, they did bounce back, and they had a similar fashion where they beat Miami. So I should say the middle two, because technically Miami was the last game of that homestand.
But even that Miami game was tough. They started pulling away, late in the third, I think, early
fourth?
No,
I mean, they went up in that Miami game. They went up by 15. Miami went on a 17-1 run.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And then they responded, and they won the game. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, if I got to be critical in that, which I was doing after the Brooklyn and Toronto games, I got to be complimentary when they do something like that. Like they hold off a Heat team. We know it's not prime Heat, but it's still a playoff caliber team. All right. So say tomorrow they go in there and win or lose, whatever. Followed by that, you have the Rockets coming to town on Friday.
NBA Cup game.
And then the Pelicans, who have not looked good to close out the weekend. What are we going to learn about this team, for better or worse, over the next 3 games?
including the Lakers game tomorrow night, right?
All three.
Okay, all three. Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to learn if this team has the mental fortitude to bounce back from a loss, especially a loss where they lost by 30. And I wish Devin was here. Hopefully he gets back on soon. But I always wanted to ask, what's worse as a player, getting blown out or losing by a single point at the end of regulation? But nevertheless, we'll see how they can bounce back from that beating in Phoenix. 2. So that's an in-state rival there Friday night in San Antonio. That's a big game.
For this guy in town.
And that's Wemby's idol too. Let's not forget, Wemby makes it very clear he is a Kevin Durant fan. So he'll likely get up for that game. Again, this is a game that I think is going to get ugly, dirty. We know how Ime Udoka likes style of play, rough and tumble. He's a throwback to the old 90s way, 80s way. So we'll see how's that. But they should win because, they don't have a point guard. And Reed Sheppard hasn't been their savior in this situation and whatnot. But nevertheless, should be still a tough test. Now, for that Pelicans game, ain't no way they're going to overtime. If they got to go to overtime to dispatch the Pelicans, there's something wrong, in my opinion. There's something wrong there. Because that will tell me that they played down to competition. You can't do that. You cannot do that. So I want to see A, mental fortitude, B, going up against, can they handle the physicality and the scoring prowess of Kevin Durant on Friday? And then I just need them to see them just curb stomp New Orleans. I have to see that.
It's funny because you say that, and on the postcast the other day, it was whoever they played before Brooklyn. So that was New Orleans. Someone commented, this guy, Ralph Amendatis, I believe that's his last name. And he said, Brooklyn is a bye week. And Devin said, "Oh, Brooklyn ain't no bye week. There are no bye weeks in the NBA." And sure enough, Brooklyn put the fight of one's life in the Spurs, and thankfully they took care of business, and they did exactly that.
I was at that game. Well, you were at that game for a little while.
Yeah, the home opener.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, I think you left early, and I stayed for the whole game. This was me at my seat. When I saw that league go, I was like, "Oh, this is bad.
I know
this is bad." I had somebody in press row nudge me every time. It literally was every moment. Was like, "It's down to 25. It's down to 20. We're at 10 now." I mean, they're just counting down, and they cannot let that happen. Look, I get it. It's 82 games. You're gonna have these type of games. Even the big three, the Tim Duncan era went through this too. Nevertheless, this is a young team that's out to prove themselves. And you don't want to send out the message saying like, hey, it don't matter if you're up against the Spurs and you're down by 20 or 25. They'll give you a chance to get back in.
You said it. You said it about as well as I could right there. The couple housekeeping notes, I guess, to keep an eye on going the rest of the way. We haven't talked about this guy, Luke Cornett.
Good point.
Questionable for that Laker game tomorrow. Excuse me. No. Let me correct.
No, he's out. He's out.
Kelly Olynyk is questionable. Yes. For that game tomorrow. Cornett with the ankle, Olynyk coming back from that surgery in the offseason, and Jeremy Sohan for the first time this year, potentially on the verge of making his season debut. And that's going to be real interesting, man, because with in the context of the Harper injury, because if things go real south, do they come back to a crossroads where they revisit that, albeit
he's going to get PTSD, dude.
I mean, it helps that Jordan McLaughlin's actually played pretty well.
Yeah, he's been playing very, very well.
And he's certainly been doing what's asked for sure.
There was a stretch where he had no turnovers. Nobody saw that. He had two, 3 games in a row. He had 0 turnovers for McLaughlin.
Do what's asked of you, right?
Yep.
And they're not asking a ton. They're asking to hold down the fort and go out and not turn the ball over and help the team win.
Let me ask you this:
Ask me.
Would you trust Vassell with the ball coming up the court? I would. I'd be okay with that. I think Vassell can handle the ball. I don't know about
Sohan.
Sohan just gives me nerves. I think he might just go into fetal position in the center court and just say, "I can't handle this." But no, I think they'll be fine at that position. Castle, Devin, and as Devin Vassell, but as Devin Brown, our teammate here, said, we can't forget about Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson is more than adequate to do that as well. So I think they should be fine until the troops come back. You got to think Fox has got to be on the verge, right? I mean, maybe against that Rockets game. I mean, home opener.
They better hope so.
Because my goodness, if he's not back by the Houston game, yikes. But nevertheless, look, injuries are part of the team. But here's something interesting too, Casey. The two big guys that they brought in to back up Wemby have been out for the most of the season already so far. The two guys that back him up have been out, and you're going back to Bismack. No knock on Bismack. He's just undersized. And then you're going to rely on Sohan as another backup big for Wemby tomorrow night versus the Lakers if Olenek is a scratch. So go figure, right? Go figure.
All right, we got Devin back. I want to give him the opportunity now that he's back here to hit on these to hit on this before we pivot and wrap things up in the final 15 minutes of the program. Tough week awaits, my friend. What are the Spurs going to learn about themselves, for better or worse, between this Lakers, Rockets, and Pelicans Saturday?
Well, you got two tough teams. Both teams playing well. And I just want to see an answer for what happened the other night. I'm not going to sit here and say, they owe it to the fans. We're way too early in the season for anything like that. But I just want to see, because it was a butt whooping. It was a butt whooping. We can't cuss on our show, on our platforms, but it was not good, a not good performance. So let's see how they bounce back. I mentioned this on another show. After the All-Star break, when we really start looking at these games, when we really break them down, they're going to have a loss like this. And you want to know that when you watch that next game, you say, you know what? We've been here before with this team. They'll bounce back, and let's move on. So that's what I want to see.
We'll see. Prime time in Los Angeles tomorrow, as Devin and I have been saying on the post game. Stars are going to be out, right? Yeah. Who'd you say Eddie Murphy's going to be showing up for one of his every, what'd you say, once every 5 years? Eddie Murphy
once every 5 years. Eddie Murphy.
Hey, Devin, I'm going to ask you. Whenever you played in Los Angeles, were you ever starstruck by some of the actors on the sidelines?
Great question.
You have to be in my. I wish you guys were like in my inner circle when I was playing. I never looked in the stands. That wasn't a part of who I was. I didn't do that at UTSA. I was always laser focused on the court. Yeah. Oh, lost me again.
He's Devin with the tech issues. He made progress, though. He made progress.
He was about to say something, and then he got cut. No, he didn't. I don't know.
By the way, everybody, yes, we're not allowed to cuss on Locked On Spurs Network, but if we can, just Casey's gonna have to bleep every bleeping thing we say out. So, anyways, I don't want to give Casey any headaches right now. He has a lot of editing to do.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I know you want to talk about Prop A and Prop B, but I did get a text back from Dr. Ryan McCorkle, friend of Locked On Spurs, the guy we go to, the medical doctor who we lean on for sports medicine and the Spurs.
Ryan, give me some good news.
All right, here we go. Dr. Ryan, here's what he said. Quote, from what I've read, it's a grade 1 calf sprain or calf injury and should be just a couple of weeks. But they could reevaluate him, hold him out again, just Spurs being Spurs. But he's projecting just a couple of weeks. Grade 1, per medical advice for our Dr. Ryan McCorkle, recovery time is 1 to 3 weeks. Symptoms are just mild pain, tenderness, and swelling. I say just, but that is the low end of type of injury.
And how is this particularly different from anything I said? Because I said it was going to be a month.
Oh, because you said you feel it's going to be longer than 2 to 3 weeks.
So he said 1 to 3 weeks.
1 to 3 weeks.
The Spurs are cautious, so they'll give it a month.
They'll tack on.
So that math kind of adds up to what I'm saying. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does. But nevertheless, hey, look at it. On the spot medical advice from Dr. Ryan McCorkle.
That's why
friend of Locked On Spurs.
That's why we do this up to the moment. All right.
Can we get technical help for Devin Brown on the spot?
We'll see. We'll hopefully get Devin back on the other side.
Yeah.
But on the topic of I guess people needing to catch their breath a little bit, A lot of people right now are kind of doing that for better or worse with this Prop A and Prop B stuff. The vote is not officially in, but coming up on the other side of the break, it's getting close. So we'll go off what we know. We'll talk about it a little bit and go from there. Got that coming up as we put a bow of things here in the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs. All right. Jeff Garcia, of course, the host of the title pod here on Locked On Spurs. My name's Casey. Let's get to it. Looking at the numbers right now, and I'm using...
I am looking at them too right now, everybody. I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm looking at the numbers.
Yeah, I'm looking at our Tegna sister station in San Antonio, Ken's 5. They're, as of the 9:39, let me refresh this one more time. It was 82% of the vote was in. And that's the last number that I have. For Prop A, which is the Rodeo Coliseum project, it appears that it's going to be passing. It's going to pass with flying colors. It's at a 57-42 with 82% reporting in. For Prop B, which is the big one of the Spurs Arena project, again, 82% of the vote is in. And right now it's at a 52, essentially a 53-47.
Yeah, it's close still.
A lot of the vote is in.
Wait, did you say 52-4?
52.99, 47.01. So I said 53-47.
But 47 against. 47 against.
Right? Yes, 53%. I apologize. And just like Prop A was Rodeo 53%, or 57% for 42 against. Prop B at the moment, 53% for 47 against.
It's going as I thought it would. I thought it would be very close.
I thought so too.
It's panning out,
I thought so too, because you just look kind of what the messaging has been with all the way around. That has gotten to this point of people who've gotten involved on both sides.
I would not be surprised if there's a recount from those against.
You think?
I wouldn't. I think there will be. Yeah.
I don't know what quantifies or qualifies.
I think so far it's panning out to quantify as a recount if they want to do that. Yeah. I think it's going to get closer as because the polls are closed. And I think they have till midnight to count the votes. I think.
The polls closed at 2 p.m. I do know that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it was only. I mean, think about this too, Casey. Just a little over 50% of the vote is in.
Where
for Prop B?
For Prop B. Oh, so you're seeing from what I saw right here from Ken's 5.
Yeah,
our Tegna station. Out here, our sister station. They have 82% in.
Okay, well, I'm seeing it from another source. So here at Texas Public Radio, and they have it at a little under 55% in, not at 100, not even close. But then again, they probably haven't updated that area, but they did update the percentage of for and against, and it's equaling up to what you said right now. But I think we're definitely gonna be talking about this not on tomorrow's Locked On Spurs, the mothership show, but on the next day. We're just waiting for all the dust to settle and see what happens. Either it gets voted for yes or against. Hey, speaking of tomorrow's show, we have Devin Brown, and by the way, no tech issues on that show, so you get to see him, everybody, for at least good 30+ minutes.
He'll be back. That might be a good place to leave things because I don't want to hit too hard, heavy without official confirmation. I was hoping we were going to get a little bit more in there before we put on a bow on things before the end of the program. But we'll just kind of go off what we know. 83% of the vote is in. It appears that the foundation is being laid for a new San Antonio Spurs arena downtown. This is the big hurdle that they needed to jump. It paves the way. Obviously not done.
Yeah. No, not even.
I say those things. What comes to mind?
Yeah. No, you're right. No, it's not even close. Sure. Let's just project out and say this holds and it gets passed. It's 4. I had the CEO of the Stock Show and Rodeo come on. And even the Bexar County judge, Judge Sakai, come on Locked On Spurs. And they all said, hey, we say that it passes and we're good to go. We said it'll still be years after today.
Oh, it's not like it's going up tomorrow. No,
I think a lot of Spurs fans think it's like, oh, it passes tonight. shovels in the dirt tomorrow. No, that's not how it's going to work, because brace yourself, everybody. There's still another vote ahead as far as the financing of stuff of it. So, it ain't over yet. But this is like, Casey, you mentioned this was the biggest hurdle they have to get over.
Yeah. And we'll see where it goes from here. But for those for it, as of this recording, as of 10:05 Central Time, it appears that the groundwork is going to be laid for a new San Antonio Spurs arena. We'll find out. And we'll certainly have a better idea come Thursday. That is the next time you'll be hanging out with us on the Spurs Squad Show. As always, we appreciate your engagement. We appreciate your involvement, not only here in all the Locked On Podcast Network, the family.
Shout out to the people that showed up tonight.
Shout out to the people that showed up tonight. It was good to have you aboard. We had good engagement. Some couple haters in there, but we won't acknowledge them too much.
I took care of them.
Yeah, we'll take care of them on the way out. Thursday, of course, is our next squad show. Lakers in town, or let me correct myself.
No, they're
Spurs in LA playing the Lakers. Once that game's done, you know where you're coming back to, right here. Devin Brown and I going to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, tidy everything up. And then, of course, on Thursday, you'll have Jeff in the AM with the title pod, of course, Locked On Spurs. So that's
Vinny Vencetta's making his return. Brace yourself, everybody. Vinny's coming back this week.
Vin Dog, he's up for something.
Vin Dog is back, yeah.
Love me some Vin Dog. All right. So for Mr. Mothership over there, Jeff Garcia and Devin Brown, he'll be back. My name's Casey Viera. Have a nice night, and we will talk to you tomorrow on the postcast.